Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marcus Campbell, incoming president with the Medicine District Chamber. Can everybody hear me? Good. Sarah's given me a thumbs up, so that means we're good to go. Welcome to our general meeting and policy council forum, kind of a little town hall get together. Tracy Newlett unable to be with us today, so I'm stepping in short notice. I even got dressed up for the occasion. So bear with me as we go through this. Just a couple of tips and some housekeeping. New features with the Zoom, so make sure you've joined with your computer audio. If your audio is not working, find the microphone located in the bottom left-hand corner and click on the arrow to see audio options, which I'm sure we're all getting used to this, so we should have a pretty good handle on things. You can also turn your video on or off using the video camera icon at the bottom left of the screen. This will also allow you to choose a virtual background or select your video settings. You can share your reactions, either a thumbs up or a clapping, by using the reactions icon. When it comes time for the voting during the meeting, please open the participation box. And within that box, you will see options to vote yes or no at the bottom. We ask that instead of raising your hand, that you do post your question in the chat box so that we can moderate the chat dialogue. Any questions that are specific to an individual situation, we will follow up with you after the meeting. And for broader questions, we will try to address those following the presentation, should time be permitting. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to change your name to the first and last name or your company name so that it's easier for our team to take registration. You can do this by clicking on participants, find your name, and when you scroll over your name, you should see an option that says more. If you click on that, you can choose to rename your profile. You can change your view settings as well by clicking on the view options at the top of your screen. And if you have any technical difficulties, please email accounts@medicinehatchamber.com. Today's presentation and recording of today's meeting will be circulated for all attendees following the meeting. And we will also share the recording of the meeting through our e-newsletter on Monday. And we've got a hard stop at 2 o'clock. So we're going to try and plug through this as fast as we can. Working behind the scenes today to make all this wonderful stuff take place, we've got Kristen Walsh, events coordinator and our event tech for today, Chantel Fisher with membership services, and Angelica Schwartz, sales coordinator, and they will be managing the chat section. Chantel Legault, our trade show manager, is managing the registration. Catherine Tingley, our administrative coordinator, is also here as tech support. We've got two students today with us, Hannah Dupuis, who's our social media engagement specialist, and Kate Mulder, who has been our business support over the last couple of months. Caitlin Lang, I think she's on holidays, but she's attending as well. I think I saw her on there, policy and communications coordinator. And of course, our fearless leader, Lisa Kowalchuk, our executive director. So with that, I would like to call the meeting to, oh, no, just hold on, I got more to do. So myself, I'm Marcus Campbell, incoming president of the Medicine District Chamber. And today with us, we've got some dignitaries and special people in attendance. So we've got His Worship Mayor Ted Cluxton, who's with us today. City of Medicine Hat Corporate Services Commissioner Dennis Egert, who we're going to hear from shortly. And Director of Marketing and Communications for the City of Medicine Hat, Colleen Graham. Anyone that I've missed? In attendance from our wonderful Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, I saw Steve Hyde and Sarah Cook. And unable to attend today, Sarah McKenzie, past president, Scott Lair, second vice president, Brett Pudwell, treasurer, Sarah Franchetto, our director, Reagan Weeks, one of our directors, Trevor Anhill, I saw him on here, so Trevor's with us today, and Steve Pudwell, one of our directors. Also, it's with regret that we have to announce that Tammy Sweeney has left us as a director. She's moved on to new opportunities in Saskatoon. We'd like to thank Tammy for her tireless dedication and commitment to our community and this organization. Really happy to see Tammy land on her feet again. So we wish her all the best in Saskatoon, kind of a special spot for me. That's where I grew up. And then finally, special thanks to Joanne Lechtman, our exclusive Chamber of Commerce group insurance plan advisor, who is also with us today. Anything else? You think I'm good? All right, so with that, we will call the meeting to order. And I'm a minute ahead, so we're going to call it at 1:06. So with that, we're going to move on to our presentation. So today we're going to call on Dennis Egert, Corporate Services Commissioner with the City of Medicine Hat, to provide us with a municipal fiscal update. Dennis is the Commissioner of Corporate Services. He's a proud part of our community and calls Medicine Hat home. Prior to joining the City of Medicine Hat, Dennis was the CFO for the Monarch Corp, as well as financial controller for the Canadian region of Dow Chemical Corporation and its predecessor, Union Carbide Corporation. As audit manager with KPMG, Dennis spent 4 years in Dusseldorf, Germany. I think I said that right, where he was responsible for the management of international and overseas clients in a wide variety of industries. He's also served as a governor to Medicine Hat College and as a member of the board with the Community Foundation of Medicine Hat in Southeast Alberta. And with that, we're going to pass it off to Dennis. Thank you very much for being with us today, sir.
All right, Marcus, thank you very much for that introduction. I'm just going to set up here. There we go. I trust that you can see my screen.
Not yet, Dennis. I think maybe Kristen, are we? There we go.
All right. I assume you can see my screen now?
All good. Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, Marcus, thank you very much for that introduction. As Marcus said, I am Dennis Egert. I'm the Corporate Services Commissioner for City of Medicine Hat. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be on this agenda and share with you what we're calling the Chief Financial Officer Report for the first 4 months of 2020. So first of all, my compliments to you and your management group and Lisa for incorporating the video conferencing technology during COVID-19. It's a really neat way to connect and it's actually quite efficient. So a bit of a background, this report came about as a complementary report to our what we call triennial management reporting that happens once every 4 months. That's the report that gets reviewed by audit committee and gets presented to council. So this is the report that was presented back in April, May. So it's a bit dated, but I can provide some commentary. The intention for us is to continue this on a 4-month period as we go through the year and provide some insight as to city activity and financial health. The reason this came about was the opportunity to share this report to a broader audience, to stakeholders in our community. And it is a proactive approach. It allows us to tell our story and provide a financial picture. So I want to talk about 4 things during this presentation. The first one is to take a quick look at 2019 and what I call the rear view mirror look. Then I want to go into 2020 and just talk about some of the the new reality and some of the things that we're facing as a city, which many businesses and residences are facing as well. Talk a little bit about the key fiscal measures that we saw and reported to the audit committee at the end of April, both year to date and what we see to the end of the year. And then fourthly, what's next? What are we seeing are challenges going forward? So let's start with 2019. Seems like that was so long ago, 2019, and now it's completed. Our results are in the books. And before I get into some of the numbers here, I just want to talk on the right-hand side. You can see the three boxes. When we talk about the results and activity of the City of Medicine Hat, we're really talking about two aspects. One is the municipal operations, which is across Alberta, the typical operations that you'd see in any municipality, providing services to residents, whether it's roads, bridges, cutting lawn, those planning and building type of services. But then we also have a self-sustaining unit, several units in the energy and utility business. And we're very fortunate as a city to have that side of the business. And so when we talk about the consolidated view, we're talking about both aspects. KPMG is our auditor. They were approved by audit committee and council. And for 2019, we did receive a clean report, which was not unexpected. The highlights of that report, I just want to highlight three things. Number one, when you look at our municipal surplus, so surplus being our revenues less our expenditures, and through legislation, we are required to budget for a balanced budget, not like other levels of government, provincially or federally, who are able to budget for deficits. So municipalities in general are not allowed to budget for deficits. We did come in slightly with a slight surplus of $200,000, and throughout the year we had identified several $1 million, up to $4 million of cost control efforts during the year that we've identified to offset some budget variances as well. And so we ended the year actually quite nicely in that regard. When I look at the energy utility businesses, one of the things that you'll notice if you've seen the report and the results for 2019 is that we're dealing with commodities. Both commodities as an input in production, so whether it's gas and chemicals, or whether it's the output and sales, and again, gas or electricity. And so the results for 2019 reflect that we are in a volatile commodity business. On the energy and utility side, we saw two things I want to highlight. Strong electricity sales to our customers, and higher than expected commodities on the sales side. So we did end the year on the energy utility side with a positive net earnings of about $24 million over budget. Lastly, I want to highlight our balance sheet. And often, if you're analyzing an organization, you would often gravitate over to the balance sheet. And Medicine Hat has a strong balance sheet, and it allows us to leverage opportunities as they present themselves. I want to look at four aspects of our balance sheet. Number one, our investments. So our total investments that we have as an organization are about $476 million. We have that invested either internally or externally through professional investment managers. And over the year for 2019, our annual return on the internal investments, and those are more conservative, more fixed income related, was 2.27%. So we beat the benchmark that we track for that portion of it. But on the other one, which is externally managed by AIMCO, our return was over 14%, which we're very pleased with. There is more volatility on that second aspect, but that's the investment side of it, I look at capital assets, and this is a depreciated amount, $1.3 billion. So we have a lot of assets that we need to maintain, rehabilitate. One of the things that we look at just as a very high level is how much of the original cost has been depreciated. And in this case, this is about 48%. So it's a reasonable pace and stage that we're at. We've amortized about half of the life of our capital assets, which shows that we're not behind in our rehabilitation spending. We look at many other factors in this regard, but that's just one way of looking at our capital assets for the organization. And we're talking about physical assets, bricks and mortar, roads, bridges, our production facilities, vehicles, rolling stock. Those are all included in that number. Our debt, and of course, we do leverage debt in terms of funding some of our programs, not our programs, our projects, capital projects. Our debt is sitting at about $400 million. And our debt is sourced through Alberta Capital Finance Authority through the province of Alberta. Through municipal affairs, we're highly monitored in terms of debt limits, as every other municipality in Alberta would be. And our debt limit that they've set is at 52% of the total limit, which is a very comfortable number to be at, 52%. And so that number is being monitored regularly and reported to audit committee, and it's something we look at very closely. The last one is formal reserves. These are reserves that council has approved and set aside for future obligations, 141 million. And that's more or less the same number that we had in the previous year, 2018. One of council's overall strategic objectives is the short-term and long-term sustainability of the city. And we continue, and this continues to be a top priority for us in our strategic plan, in our budget plan, and as we review spending in the city. This is one of our top priorities that we consider. So I want to look forward a little bit to 2020, and I titled them external forces. And there's four big ones that came about. Some of it was anticipated, some of it was a surprise or unexpected. And I'll talk about the Alberta Fiscal Plan to start. The Alberta Fiscal Plan, of course, with our new government in Alberta, had initiated a business plan, multi-year business plan to eliminate the deficit. They tabled a budget in the fall of 2019 and the spring of 2020, which impacted every municipality in Alberta, including City of Medicine Hat. As a result of those two budgets, that impacted our operations by about $1.2 million a year. There's further budgets that are forthcoming, including a revamp and a restructuring of our municipal sustainability initiative that fund a lot of our capital rehabilitation programs. The oil price war, for those of you in the oil and gas business, you're very well aware of what's been happening there. And not only are we seeing a stubbornly low gas price in North America, but also in 2020, we saw a fall in oil price down to close to $12 a barrel. And just as a comparison, in 2019, the high was closer to 65. It's leveled off at about 40. But that swing in commodity prices of oil does impact us at the city in terms of the value of that commodity. COVID-19, not sure how much we can, much more we can say. We're all living it. The World Health Organization declared that as a pandemic in March, on March the 11th. And I have more to talk about on COVID, on how we responded to COVID-19 and what we're doing about it later on in the slideshow. And the last one is the global recession. And this one has been, if I had talked about this a few months ago, we wouldn't have had the benefit of seeing what the markets have done since then. But it does show the volatility in the markets, and the global recession does impact us in various ways, including the return that we can get on our investments. And so that's one of the large impacts that we have specifically on our budget. Secondly, it's the impact to our residents and businesses within the City of Medicine Hat, and their spending and ability to expand and do business, and financial constraints. So that's all part of the global recession that either directly or indirectly impacts City of Medicine Hat. So let's talk a little bit about how this has impacted these four external factors. The first one is service delivery challenges. When you think about a municipality on how we deliver services out to the community, we're talking about employees being available and managing social distancing and still deliver those services that need to be delivered. Some of those services are very important: water, electricity, invoicing and billing and collection and managing cash. So that still had to continue. We took the position at the city that we would continue to deliver services just in a different way. And I'm going to be talking more about that a little later. Alberta Public Health had also issued directives in terms of facility closures, majority in our recreational area, cultural area. We had City Hall closed to the public, although our doors were open. So those facility closures also impacted our organization with continued cost to maintain, to heat the building without the offsetting, I'll say, revenue related to that. Airport volume, that volume has reduced significantly over last year. And not only that, we've lost a major air carrier to Medicine Hat, Air Canada. And so the airport volume directly impacts one revenue line of the City of Medicine Hat quite significantly. Building permits, especially in that first quarter to the end of April, were down significantly, most likely due to uncertainty around what the impact of COVID is. If I were to fast forward on the building permit side, we've seen a rebound on building permits. And so that's both permits on development and buildings. And so we're forecasting to the end of the year that that's going to improve significantly over what we thought it would be back in March and April. Investment earnings, I talked about that. Let me skip over to vehicle fuel prices. This is going in the opposite direction. The price at the pump has gone down, and it has gone lower than what we had included in our budget. So we're seeing a positive variance as it relates to fuel prices, and this is fuel prices for our fleet, whether it's transit or garbage pickup, street cleaning, police, fire emergency response. So that's a offsetting benefit. And then the cash flow. This cash flow has to be managed so carefully. We have deferral programs for utilities and property taxes. Our accounts receivable in some areas have gone up, some slightly, some notably. And so the cash flow for City of Medicine Hat is and needs to be managed on a very careful basis. Our response, and this was a bit of a evolution as we started off in March, and many municipalities were trying to find their feet in terms of what is their role. And early on, we determined role clarity in terms of what is our role of a municipality. And our role that we determined was primarily the safety of residents and employees, and also aligning to what the province and federal government are doing in terms of their efforts. And so each of those levels of government, whether it's the province or our federal government, are very clear in what their role is in responding to this pandemic. Province being public health directives, income assistance, the federal government being income redistribution and program funding. And they're very good at that in terms of the information they have, the data that they have to be able to do this, and the infrastructure. I talked about business as usual in unusual times. And our decision as a management team and as an executive is that we wanted to continue to deliver services as much as possible during this COVID-19 environment. And many of that would be delivered in alternative ways. And I'll give you one example in terms of the interface at City Hall, in terms of the customer service desk, paying bills, signing up for utilities. There's about 4 or 5, even 6 alternative ways that a customer could do business, whether it's through email, through phone, on the website, Dropbox, mail, electronic payments. And so we marketed and enhanced those alternative ways to deliver services in that area. There's many other examples. Construction renewal projects continue, and other municipalities, not all municipalities, took this position or took this view, but for the City of Medicine Hat, we continued our efforts during this construction season to execute our capital projects for the city. And it was really to show commitment, not only that we're continually enhancing our capital assets, but also to the business community in the city. The operations, we had facility closures earlier on. Since then, of course, we're relaunching in many areas. And so each of those had various challenges. We had cost mitigations that we took early on as the facilities were closing, including layoffs of staff related to program services. And I talked about the relaunch plans here to the new normal, and some of the buildings look a little different now in terms of number of people that can enter, the protocols that need to take place in entering the building. It may be the way of life for the foreseeable future. Quick scan on our fiscal measures. So again, this was back in April, but year to date, we had mitigated quickly costs that we felt could be reduced as a result of COVID-19. The electricity sales, again, strong revenue. We had a positive variance on that, and cost savings on our oil and gas business, just to a strategic shift in terms of our focus now from growth to abandonment. For the year, when you exclude COVID, our municipal budget's on track. If you add the impact of COVID from various sources, the impact for the City of Medicine Hat is about 10.5 million. That's part of that was the relief program that was funded of 8.2 million. The other one is about $2.3 million impact result of reduced volume to some facilities, reduced revenue, increased cost in terms of mitigating COVID-19. And that number is being revised on a monthly basis. So as we get closer and understand better what COVID-19 means to the city, that number will be refined. At the bottom here, I just want to highlight FF is a acronym, financially fit. Many of you have heard that term, financially fit. We've been at the financially fit efforts over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's still a priority for us. We've instituted a strategic opportunities team, and they're active. I'll be talking more about that here in the next slide. Invest Medicine Hat is engaged. They have been restructuring recruiting over the last few months, and they're already making an impact in the city, in the community, and in this trading region. We check our debt limits frequently and at the very least on a monthly basis. And our investments are recovering, and we're seeing a very nice recovery on that portfolio. I want to quickly highlight three things that we were doing during those first 4 months. I talked about the relief package, and that's $8.2 million package that council had approved. Very quickly in March, we realized there was a huge impact of COVID-19, both on residences and on businesses. And council recognized this need in the community and proposed and approved a relief package of $8.2 million. That was paid for by reserves, which is our savings, I'll call it. And they had 5 components. Tax cancellation of $3.9 million. For those of you who are property owners within the City of Medicine Hat, you would have seen a COVID credit on your property tax bill, and that's what this is about. So every taxpayer, every property owner in the city would have received their pro rata share of that. Effectively, we held the 2019 tax rates flat. Payment deferral, both on the utility side and on the tax side. Utility was deferred for 90 days. The tax side was deferred for 3 months to September 30th. So the opportunity cost and the interest income that we would typically receive during that period translates to about $300,000. $2 million was allocated to Community Futures Entrecorp in 4 tranches. We've completed the first tranche. It's $500,000, and that's completely subscribed. We've now proceeding with a second tranche of $500,000. And this is really to help local businesses pivot within this COVID-19 environment. Vulnerable support, $1 million. And that's for those of you that are familiar with the Community Foundation of Southeastern Alberta, $100,000 of that went to the Community Foundation. And we took advantage of a matching program by the province of Alberta that matched an additional $40,000 to that program. And the other part of this amount is being used to supplement our community warmth program, which supports utility customers that are having financial difficulty. And then economic development. So this is Invest Medicine Hat, looking at opportunities, taking advantage of opportunities as they present themselves. Number 2 is our oil and gas business. We did a strategic shift in our approach to this business. And we are accelerating the abandonment and reclamation of about 2,000 wells across Saskatchewan and Alberta. We've started that process. We're well underway. It's a multi-year program. And the business case was a low commodity price, especially in the gas area. And we were experiencing annual cash losses that are not sustainable. We did not see a price recovery in sight, and that business, as determined, is not viable in the majority of our locations. The cost of this is $125 million. That's the abandonment, the reclamation. Now, land lease and property taxes, as it relates to the properties, are in addition to this. But until we get a reclamation certificate, both land lease and property taxes continue. We're funding this with a combination through a reserve of $45 million and debt of $80 million. And the debt service on the debt will be funded through investment income on our INCO investment fund. The idea there is to preserve that portion of our principal as we go through the financing of these 2,000 gas wells. Third one is financially fit, seizing opportunities. So quote by Winston Churchill, a pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, but an optimist sees an opportunity in every difficulty. And during this COVID-19, we view this as an opportunity in many aspects to determine what our new normal looks like. reimagining our vision for the city and looking at how we can improve how we deliver services. So it's not only the range of services that we provide, but it's how we provide those services. This strategic opportunities team has been put together, and they're analyzing information and data both internally here at City of Medicine Hat, but also across the country in terms of how we benchmark with other communities. But we're looking at two outcomes for the strategic opportunities team. One is on the sustainability side, that we're looking to significantly impact the cost structure of our business. And that's aligned with this financially fit strategy in looking at how do we make our cost sustainable in terms of the revenues that we have available. And the other one is customer service. And we saw there was a significant opportunity here to look at taking a major step forward in terms of our digital platform and how we interface with the community and with residents on services. So it's more of a virtual city hall as opposed to having to come into the city and speak to someone. You're able to do business online at your home through a website. And so stay tuned, there's more to come on that. So what's next? What does the road ahead look like? Still a lot of heavy lifting, and there's still a lot of uncertainty as it relates to several aspects. The Alberta budget is one large area. The budget cuts are reality, and I see more potentially coming. There's a news release that I just received this morning at 10 o'clock from the Alberta government that talked about what their debt and deficit looks like, forecasting to the end of their current fiscal year. So that debt burden for Alberta is $100 billion. The deficit, so that's the operating deficit of $25 billion. Those are big numbers, and those are unprecedented in our generation and in our lifetime. And we believe that municipalities across Alberta will be impacted in some way or another in terms of meeting this challenge by the province and potentially also by the federal government. The impact of COVID-19 is another item that is uncertain right now in terms of the lasting impacts of our operations. We've opened up facilities. We are tracking very closely the uptake on residents at the Family Leisure Center in terms of cultural events, in terms of sporting events. And so although the facilities are open, it may take some time for residents to actually feel comfortable to come into that environment. We're also, one last thing is a continued focus on our financially fit. So this is a focus that we are continuing, and we want to ensure that our operating costs are at the right level for City of Medicine Hat. You'll soon see a 2021 budget update. So we had approved a 4-year budget plan going through 2022. Every year, including this year, we'll be providing an update to Council, which will have revised numbers. And this update for 2021 will come forward in late fall, early winter through committees, and then Council in December, which will really talk about how do we deal with all these headwinds that we're facing with reduced revenues, increased costs. There's a property tax element in there, and so that's all going to be addressed during this 2021 budget update. This is my last slide, and I just want to end this on a note to highlight our advantage. And as Marcus had introduced me and said, I am a resident of the city. I love living here. My kids live here. And I'm very proud to be a resident of Medicine Hat. When I look at the Medicine Hat advantage, there's several elements here in terms of supporting innovation and entrepreneurship. Our infrastructure, it is well managed. A lot of the infrastructure is under the ground, pipes and electric infrastructure, as well as above the ground. And when you look at other municipalities and we compare them ourselves to them, we're actually well managed and we're reliable as well. We live in a safe community overall, highly competent, emergency response, protective services. Our resources that we have available to spur economic growth, including city land, water, gas, and electricity. And often these are the four elements of creating or attracting new business into the city. We have a heritage saving reserve that was put in place a few years ago, which is intended to be an endowment for the residents of City of Medicine Hat. So it's the interest income that's earned by this reserve that is put back into the municipal operations in the community and given back. So it's an endowment. We have amenities that are fantastic for a city our size. When you compare it to other cities within Alberta, they're fantastic. That not only includes internal culture recreation, but also the trails and our outdoor facilities as well. And lastly, taxes, utilities. We often look at and compare ourselves to benchmarking that's being done through the City of Calgary, which compares many of the Alberta municipalities. And we continue to have an advantage on total cost for an average home compared to our peers. And that's the end of my presentation. Marcus, if I could just hand it back to you if there's any questions or comments.
Thank you, Dennis. I really appreciate you taking the time to present that today. Great job. You know, throughout this whole COVID thing, I've never been so happy to live in the corner of Alberta that we live in. So a lot of the things that you highlighted, there truly is an advantage to living in the City of Medicine Hat. So now we'll open it up for Q&A, and we had a few questions submitted in advance. So we're going to put you on the hot stove here, buddy. Maybe you could provide some comments on the municipal stimulus grant recently announced by the province of Alberta.
Okay, thanks, Marcus. And there's many grants that are being presented federally, provincially. This particular one is intended to help stimulate municipalities in Alberta with quick capital construction projects. Our allocation for City of Medicine Hat is about $7.5 million. And we're able to nominate about 5 projects, up to 5 projects that we want to nominate here in the next few weeks. We're just in the process of finalizing what that list looks like. The overall objectives of this program is to sustain and create local jobs, to enhance competitiveness, not only in Alberta, but for the city, to look at capital projects that encourage future economic growth. And also there's a red tape reduction aspect to that as well, which we will need to report on. So overall, this is money that needs to be spent in 2020 or 2021, so very quick. These are projects that cannot increase operating costs or increase property taxes. So there's a bit of constraint in that area. And these are projects that haven't been budgeted for in the past. We're really pleased to be able to participate into this program, and I think you're going to be hearing more about what those specific projects are shortly.
Perfect. Thank you, Dennis. Second question, which kind of is going to be a subcategory of the first question. Large list of approved capital projects from the city. Are these projects reviewed periodically to ensure they're still required?
Okay, thanks, Marcus. Our annual capital is in around $70 million a year. And we have currently, I'll say, what do you call it, a backlog or previously approved capital projects of about $250 million. So we actually just went through a analysis of that backlog to see, number one, is the project completed? Can it be shut down? Do we still need to do that project? Is it still a priority? It was a really good session that we had with our senior management team. We identified $100 million of capital that we've canceled. And that cancellation of $100 million has a lot of impacts to our bottom line, including a reduction in our debt, in our debt that we've assigned to these projects. Some of them were being funded by grants that we can now reallocate to other places. So the benefit is huge, and that'll be also incorporated here in our next upcoming forecast, as well as the 2021 budget update. That will be an ongoing exercise to review capital in the future as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Dennis. Lisa or Kristen, have there been any questions submitted while we're here?
Yes, Marcus, we did have one submitted, and the question is, how do our reserves compare to other cities of the same size?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Great to see you. So first of all, our reserves are those that have been formally approved by council, and really are to anticipate future obligations, and we've set aside funds to be able to meet those obligations. Our reserves are significantly more than what you would expect from a city our size, largely due to, I'll call it, the energy and utility business. When you look at equipment and capital that needs to be replaced, the previous profits from decades ago that were accumulated. And so when you compare us to other municipalities, we're actually doing quite well when it comes to those reserves that we've identified that meet future obligations. And one of those reserves is a tax stabilization reserve, which helps stabilize some of the factors that we see during the year and during a budget cycle.
Perfect. Thank you, Dennis. Lisa, any other questions?
Well, I think that's everything for what we received. And certainly if anybody has any additional questions, you can feel free to email us at the chamber, call us at the office, or of course in the event information, Colleen's email was on there as well.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I know that Colleen has submitted the actual electronic copy of the presentation. If there are any questions, please send them my way and I'll be sure to get them back to you, Marcus.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dennis. Really appreciate it. A little round of applause for Dennis. So with that, that wraps up the presentation portion of, oh, am I still there? Yeah, I'm still here. So now we move into the business section of our meeting today. So I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Sarah Cook. And Sarah's the only one with a high five. She gave me a high five. So Sarah Cook and a seconder. I'm gonna Wendy and Kevin. So we got lots of seconders. So thank you for that. Next item is the adoption of the minutes. So a motion to adopt. Sarah Cook again. She's quick on that button. And then Kevin Shufflebotham. And Wendy again, too. Those are the only people I can see on my screen. So thank you for that. Then we move into new business. So an update on actions by the chamber. So a couple of, I've got a list of a few things here. So our board nominations, since our last meeting, we conducted board nominations. And we are very pleased for the 2020-2021 year that we will be welcoming Mark Keller with the Medicine Hat College, Les Scholey with Pritchard and Company to our board, along with our re-elected director, Reagan Weeks from the Prairie Rose School Division. So Lisa, I'm seeing different things than on my agenda. So do you want me going through the new business here?
No, I just sent Kristen a message. You're good. That's an older slide. So
Okay.
Go through what you have. You're good to go.
So I'm good to proceed. Thank you very much. So yeah, like I said, very happy to have Mark and Les joining our wonderful board, and Reagan to be stepping back up. The Shop Here program, pleased to partner with Invest Medicine Hat and Apex Alberta to launch the Shop Here e-commerce initiative. Looking forward to more to come. To date, so far, we have 70 businesses who have signed up, but through some online polling, 60% of businesses do not yet have an online store, so that's something that we're going to continue to push. The Local First, we are part of many Local First initiatives in addition to the Shop Here, but we're also heading a Local First task force. That was a project created under the Brood survey, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. In addition to promoting the Big Spend and the Canadian United campaign, which is coming up this weekend, we encourage you to continue to participate in the Canadian United campaign. As for each action taken, the RBC is contributing 5 cents to the fund to assist businesses with financial relief. And remember to go out and support our local business community. So it's not only this weekend, but this is something that we're trying to push moving forward, so that we all think about shopping locally first. Our advocacy, which is a huge part of what we do, or what Lisa and her team does, as well as the board, constantly working behind the scenes with all the different levels of government and the chambers within our service territory in the province. And so we're really happy to see the various grants and adjustments to grants as a result of our advocacy. So, you know, recently the Chamber's been a part of the Highway 3 Twinning Association, and we just had that big announcement that they're gonna expand the Highway 3. So our service corridor between Burdett and Bow Island, that's a huge step in the right direction, especially with our, you know, we've got a wonderful ag industry just outside the city limits, and they're a really key contributor to our little town here. So our business awards, we're still going ahead with this. It's going to look a little bit different, but I have no doubt in my mind that we will make it successful. So that's on October 16th. And the whole reason behind our business awards is to celebrate these businesses. August 11th, we announced the nominees, 72 nominations in 14 different categories. So we're going to hand out a bunch of hardware. This is going to be a hybrid event, virtually and in-person opportunities, and it'll be free for participants. So this is usually a great opportunity for us as members and as the board and Lisa and her team, for us all to kind of get together and mingle and celebrate. It's a big party. So it's going to look a little different this year, but we're still going to give it a go and make sure that it goes off support of our sponsors with respects to the business award. We're very grateful for them, and we could not make this happen without them. If you're still interested in getting involved, you can certainly contact the Chamber team. Membership renewals have been sent out, and this is a little bit of a tricky one. We know everybody's facing challenging times, but we sure hope that our members will continue to support and invest in the Chamber. We've got numerous different options, investment opportunities, and that's one thing that I like to look at is that my personal membership in the Chamber is an investment in my business, because there's lots of benefit that comes from being a member, and Chantel Fisher does such a great job explaining all that stuff. So we encourage you to continue to support our local Chamber. And if you need anything, you need to talk to Chantel, because she's got it all wrapped up in a nice little bundle for everybody. So memberships at medicinehatchamber.com. Lisa, I think it's your turn now.
So I'll fly through this because we only have a couple minutes and we want to end on time. Biggest message this week has been to take a second look. A lot of the programs have changed. And so please, if you thought you weren't eligible initially, take another look. You can use our websites at medicinehatchamber.com/COVID-19. We have the 5 steps to manage, our 5 steps to relaunch, link for local PPE resources, links to government information and funding. Obviously, we still have a lot of other resources on our website as well. And while we just launched our new website in January, we're going through a few revamps, and that's the benefit of having student support to supplement some of what we do. So we have more visual pages, and we're working on those in the coming days and weeks ahead. We did move from a daily update to a weekly update. So if you're wondering where that information is, or you love seeing my mug, each day by video, you can still log onto our website, use it as a news resource on our blog section, so our publications section of our website, and you can check out the weekly updates. Those are published each Thursday, so you can use that on the Friday mornings when you're having your coffee. And of course, our newsletter still goes out each week on Mondays. We are interested in hearing from you, as always, to hear your feedback, what you find valuable, what we can do to better enhance our services for you. There's also the cbrn.ca website. That's a Canadian Business Resilience Network that is through the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, we try to consolidate all of the information federally, provincially, locally, so you can find everything you need in one spot. And if you have any challenges navigating, please do reach out to us. We want to make sure that you're not alone in this and that you have the support you need. And as Marcus said, we have reignited our advocacy efforts. So in addition to our COVID-19 response, we've been focusing on recovery efforts, engaging with economic development, trade and tourism, the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, along with the Ministry of Energy and Environment, on a number of issues that we had been working on prior to the pandemic, and re-engaging in those conversations. And obviously, we're going to be closely following the actions and activities of our federal government this fall to see what transpires with some of the changes and challenges at that level when they reconvene in September. Of course, while we've decided not to host the fall trade show, we are looking at other ways to enhance our value to you. We want to be able to sustain the organization, and we're committed to building this community up. And we know that we can emerge from this pandemic more resilient and stronger than ever together. We are truly all in this together, and I'm confident we'll thrive coming out of this. So thank you, thank you, thank you for investing in the Chamber and engaging and being part of the conversations as we move forward.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. last thing on my list of items is our new members for approval. So we've got a list of them. We're running short on time, so I'm not going to run through the list completely. You'll see that there's a combination of complimentary trial memberships, which is a service that we've added in these challenging times. So if I can get, and I'm going to bet it's Sarah Cook, but if I can get a motion to approve new members for June and July 2020. Steve Pudwell, first on the button. Thank you, Steve. And a seconder, please. Wendy again. Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate it. Roundtable discussion. We were going to leave approximately 20 minutes for roundtable discussion, but I don't know that we're going to get to that. So as Lisa mentioned earlier, that, you know, if there are questions or concerns, or the discussion can always take place after this forum is over today. So you can always reach out to Lisa and her team, which they do such a great job of passing this information on to those people that it needs to be directed at. So we're going to skip the roundtable announcements. October 16th is our business awards, so registration's open for that. Please mark in your calendars and save the dates for November 3rd. That's going to be our virtual leadership breakfast. We're all going to eat pancakes together, so that'll be a good time. November 19th is our virtual president's reception and membership appreciation. So incoming president, I don't know who that guy is. January, we've got the State of the City address. We're not sure what that looks like yet, but we're hoping that we can do it in person. March 5th to the 7th is going to be our spring home and garden show. You can register, save your booth, get your spot reserved. You can talk to Chantal Legault. She's our trade show guru. And then, as always, our event calendar on the Chamber website. So a great list of upcoming events. And with that, I'm going to ask that we adjourn the meeting at 2:02. We did it. We're 2 minutes late. Thank you very much, everybody. Again, appreciate your time today. And we look forward to seeing you on the computer screen or hopefully in person in the future. So thanks again, everybody. I appreciate your time today.
Great job, Marcus.
Thank you.